Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Black Heel Podcast. Here are your hosts, Scott and Mike, and we have an episode filled with time travel, my adventures with Superman, and then a character spotlight. Maybe on the theme of time traveling? We'll have to wait and see. Spoiler alert, it is. We're going to start off our episode with each of us talking about time traveling slash time travelers in the beginning. I'm going to talk about one. Mike's going to talk about one. We're going to go back and forth. We're going to do three each. Then we're going to move into My Adventures with Superman, Episode 3, Full Metal Scientist. And then we're going to do a character spotlight from myself. And then we'll talk about what's happening next week. But let's get right into time traveling. I know I said I would go first. Do you want me to go first or you to go first?
You can go first.
Okay. So the first thing I wanted to talk about is specifically the types. I'm specifically going in a little bit of different route. Mike and I didn't have enough time to really discuss this and really hash this out. We're both talking about time travelers in general. I'm talking about three specific ways of time travel in Marvel. So the first one is technology. Technology is the big one where technology is used to bring people either forward in time or backwards in time. We've seen this a lot in the comics, specifically with Kang the Conqueror. We see it with Bishop, and we see it with Cable. Now, these are just the main three we see it with. We also get to see it too with. Oh, I'm sorry, I just said Kang the Conqueror. So, Kang the Conqueror, in the sense of all of his variants, have used time travel. So it's technology based. What I mean by that is it is not somebody's ability. It is not some like power from beyond or some cosmic entity beyond the reaches of time and space. It is specifically technology that was created by some sort of human slash mutant that was able to create something to make them travel to a different point in time. What we've also learned, obviously, is points in time are specifically different universes instead of going technically back in time and stuff like that. But overall, it's some sort of time travel because you have to go to. What happens is they branch off, is basically what I'm getting at, and causes a different timeline with the person interfering. So another branch in the timeline and another universe is created. But overall, like the main three that we know that have done this, like I said, are Kang the Conqueror in all of his variants, Cable, and Bishop. Like I said, there have been others. Doom has done it, although his was more magical than technical. And we've seen others go back in time as well. But those are the main ones.
Okay. My first character, my first
No,
character
that's
that I was
that's
talking about.
character.
I looked up Booster Gold. Um, Booster Gold is a character in the DC universe that's, I believe, from the 25th century.
I know he's ahead in the. Everyone is dead at that point, correct? Except for
Well,
Superman.
the regular Justice League is dead. It's
Yeah.
because obviously that's like 500 years in the future.
I was gonna say the only one that we would imagine would be alive is Superman,
Yeah, Superman or maybe
but I
Wonder
think
Woman.
he might. I think for some reason he's dead in that timeline.
Either way. So Booster Gold, in the terms of how he time travels, he has a little robotic companion. His name is Skeet, and Skeet is able to travel through time. And Booster Gold, not kind of, he's in his more known incarnations. He is a glory hound, and he wants he wants all the credit. He wants to be recognized. He's not a legitimate superhero. He's just someone who wants to be famous. So, being from the future, what he does is he knows all of history, and so he uses Skeet to travel back in time and go to important historical time periods and alters it so that way he becomes the hero and takes the credit for events. Um, there's like I was while I was looking it up, I thought it was funny because his original name, uh, he wanted to be where was it? Crap. So he wanted to go by the name of Gold Star.
Hmm.
So he
Why have
traveled
I
back
not
in
saw that?
time. He traveled back in time, and in the time period that he went back, it was when Ronald Reagan was president. So when he was trying to give him his name, it was he wanted to be called like Gold Star Booster, Booster Gold Star. Ronald Reagan messed up and combined the two names and called him Booster Gold instead of Gold Star or whatever. So he already got off on the wrong foot by not getting what he wanted when trying to change history. Um, Most of these are just like minor hiccups. It never ends up going his way for the most part. History would end up going the path that it was supposed to. Um, in like a lot of, I remember him being a somewhat not really major character, but a spotlight character in the Justice League animated series of Justice League Unlimited. He got his own little mini series that
Wait,
he was trying to find himself and wanted to be somebody. And
wasn't he also in Batman: The Brave and the Bold?
yes, yeah, I believe so.
I thought
He was
so.
also apparently in Smallville, and he.
Oh, yeah.
Do you remember, or are you just not at that point yet?
Oh, I'm not at that point, but I do know what you're talking about because every character that has been live action, no word of a lie, except I think Black Adam is like the only one has been in Smallville in some way.
Oh, okay,
I'm
cool.
almost I'm almost positive. Granted, they were not the best renditions, but they were the first.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But yeah, so he's been in a lot of iterations. He's been used a lot. He was actually in. He was going to be featured in the future season of the Arrowverse live DC's Legends of Tomorrow.
Which would that
He would
out of all the shows that would make the most sense for him.
It would make sense, but he got teased at the end of the last season, and that was the season that they just cut all of the shows, so everything got just canceled. So he never got really any feature. The only show that out of all the Arrowverse shows that was continuing, I believe that got canceled was just the Flash that had a final season. Everything else is just abruptly ended, kind of like what happened with the Daredevil universe,
The Defender saga.
the Defender saga. Yes.
Yeah,
Um, so yeah, he has. I mean, he has a lot of things that he's gone back in time, and he uses, like I said, he uses a little robot companion to time travel. But just a brief summary on him.
excellent. So, do you know of Days of Future Past?
Yeah.
Okay. What do you remember of it most of all than anything else? Because the movie and the comics were slightly different. There was a major difference between the two. However,
They were slightly different, but they were really different.
well, no, meaning like no, like the main everything was the same except for one character. Do you know who went back in time in the comic? Because you know who went back in time in the movie,
It
and for
was
the movie it made sense.
Wolverine. It was the movie, or the movie was Wolverine. I think what in the comics it was actually Kitty Pryde, right?
Yes. So you're absolutely correct. So I originally thought Kitty Pryde was able to put her consciousness back inside her own body, like her younger self. Incorrect. She
Oh.
actually had to, so although that's how it happened, she herself was unable to do so. It was actually Hope Summers, one of the children of Jean and Scott. She was able to use her psychic ability to remove her consciousness, Kitty Pryde's consciousness, and force it into the teenage Kitty Pryde to stop the events that were happening.
So wait, hold on. So Kitty Pryde couldn't go back in time without the help of Hope Summer.
Correct.
Oh, okay.
Now, obviously, they couldn't do that in Days of Future Past because that wasn't a character that was known. That and you couldn't have a kid of Jean Grey because Jean Grey was dead. You know what I'm saying? So like there was a lot of
Well, actually, they were both dead in the movies.
yes. Yeah, you're absolutely right. So even worse. So you get
Yeah,
my point I'm making. So the idea was Hope Summers puts her body into the herself, and that was a way of time traveling where the psychicness, the consciousness of her was removed and put into a younger self to try to stop the assassination attempt by Mystique. So like the story itself was almost verbatim the same.
it's
The
just the minor
difference
character, the
it
featured
was
characters
literally
were.
just the character change.
Okay.
Um, and Kitty Pride, though, I will say, because just to briefly talk about this, Kitty Pride was very different. This Kitty Pride married Colossus, was then captured. All were given the collars to stop their mutant abilities, including Hope Summers, which I'll talk about a little bit on how she time traveled in a second. She then watched her children be slaughtered in front of her, and then her husband.
Oh.
So this Kitty Pride don't care. She
Hmm.
gonna
Hmm.
kill. And
She's been broken.
oh no, no, yeah, she'd been broken. So then there were a few X Men that were able to escape, and they were able to create a device, right? So you remember how they were in that separate room where Kitty Pryde was kind of like using her powers to get Wolverine to go back in time.
Yep.
Something similar. The difference was they all had the collars and they couldn't remove it. So they used a device to jam the collar so they could use their powers to the full extent. So then what happened was she was Kitty Pride was then brought into the past, and things happened, and obviously she changed the past where things didn't happen the way they were supposed to. That being said, Kitty Pride still went back to her own timeline because that timeline didn't stop existing. She just helped create the right timeline.
Oh, so she still lives in the timeline where basically everyone's dying, but
She died.
she helped create a new timeline that.
But that wasn't what she thought. So what I mean by that is like when she went in there, she thought she was changing the events of the future, which
Mhm.
in a way she did. But the way time travel works in Marvel, nothing disappears completely unless there's like an incursion or some sort of universal wipe, right? So
Mhm.
like TVA, King the Conqueror, you know what I'm talking about? Like
Yep.
Beyonder, like somebody powerful has to eliminate the timeline. But
Yep.
overall, that timeline still exists. So everything she dealt with still existed, just in her own timeline. She didn't necessarily know that. But the reason why I wanted to bring this up was because this was a different way of time traveling, where it was a mutant ability forcing like psychic abilities to be able to bring somebody back into the past.
That's really depressing. Like,
Yeah. Well, when you think about everyone who went back in the past to stop things, their past never like as weird as it sounds, like that Wolverine, like yes, that Wolverine remembered everything because of the way his body works and stuff like that. But like there's a Wolverine that still died.
yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like just
No,
just
I mean, I understand it, but
I
at the
don't
same
like it. I don't like
it,
it.
yeah,
I don't
it's
like
really
it, but I get
depressing
it.
because it's like you go through all that effort to fix things, and it ends up, yeah, you fix
But you
things for
fix it
someone else, but not for me.
correct, and I think that's the big thing too. And that's actually been a trope that's been introduced to a lot of stuff as well. I don't know if that's DC's way because I'm not as familiar with time travel with DC, but I know in like anime and stuff like that, what has happened is it's like a branch in the universe. So it's
Mm.
like all of a sudden it's like I thought I fixed the problem and then I went back to my timeline and everything was the same. Like I stopped the events from happening, but they didn't because the idea is they can't not happen. Because
Yeah,
if they didn't happen, then you never went back to stop it. So you then, you know what I'm saying? It goes back to the
yeah,
way it was. It's that
yeah.
weird conundrum. But anyway, that is Kitty Pride and how she went back in time.
All right. Well, my next character is Rip Hunter. So in DC, Rip Hunter kind of got a bigger. He became more known in recent DC in the Arrowverse because he was the one of the original founders of the Legends of Tomorrow.
Okay.
Um, He is a time travel. Go ahead.
No, I was just gonna. I don't like. Should I know who that is? Like, his obviously he wasn't well known until Days
Legends of Tomorrow.
Legends of Tomorrow. Thank you.
I
I
mean,
almost
he
said
has
Days
a
of Tomorrow.
Days of Tomorrow. I mean, he's had major roles in DC. He's just one of. I mean, like, DC has a lot of characters that aren't well known if they're not in the main Justice League.
That's fair. No, no, no. You're absolutely right. Like Constantine.
Mm-hmm.
I gotcha. I gotcha. I just
Uh,
had to ask because it's like I feel like I should know him, and I might have seen him, but I don't. It's not ringing a bell.
yeah, I mean, it's very possible that you have. But like you said, you just not like. I mean, even like it's funny because like if it's you knew Booster Gold, Rip Hunter is uh, Booster Gold's kid. Um, so
that,
um,
that makes it even funnier. I'm sorry.
so Rip Hunter, he generally was like a timeline fixer. So basically, like Booster Gold would go back in time to change the
Get
timeline to
better.
give himself the glory. Rip Hunter would go back in time to fix
Fix it.
fix his father's mistakes. Um,
Fair enough.
for the most part, he didn't know he was his father, um,
Okay,
but
that makes sense.
he eventually found out. But like in Legends of Tomorrow, they like the group just was meant to fix the timeline. Like if an anomaly was going on, they would go back in time. They would try to fix it. Um, and in the show, they end up changing the timeline more than improving it, because they're just a group of misfits. Um, but Rip Hunter used a time sphere. It was basically just his personal time machine, that to go back in time or even in the future. But like I said, typically it was the past. He actually was a major character for trying to fix the timeline in during the Crisis of Infinite Earths. Uh, he like I said, any time there was like a major event that was causing a ripple in time, he would go to try to resolve the issue. Um, there's many of instances with him involved, but just not going to dive into that because we'd be here
Oh,
forever.
understood. All right. My final way of time travel is from beings of cosmic ability. Okay. So the one I want to talk to about specifically is Old Man Logan. Now, Mike, I know you might not know in great detail of the Old Man Logan comics, but do you know basics of that story?
He was one of the few surviving mutants.
He killed all of the X-Men because of Mysterio.
Oh, he killed him.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh.
He got he was drugged. So there was a lot of things like Mysterio went all out because it wasn't just Mysterio; it was a bunch of villains.
Mm-hmm.
Tricked Logan's senses and made illusions to make him think that the X Mansion was being attacked by all these villains, and it turned out that none of them were villains; they were all his X-Men, his fellow X-Men, and he killed them all. And so he all these villains that teamed up with Mysterio then took over the world, and each had their own little domain.
Mm-hmm.
And Logan lived in this like little love shack type thing, had some kids, everything else. He gave up being a villain. I mean, gave up being a killer basically until he gets forced out of time by the Beyonder, I believe it was, to fight in the Secret Wars. So he was like it was a weird situation where he like time traveled and everything else. At one point was able to be brought back because the battlefield was actually his planet and universe because it was so desolate that nobody cared if people got destroyed there. No word of a lie. It was a mess in this universe, let me tell you. Um, Logan's, oh, sorry.
No, no, go ahead.
Logan's family was killed by a Hulk gang. Okay.
Hulk game.
Hulk, like the Incredible Hulk gang.
Uh-huh.
Because in this universe, Hulk slept with his cousin to create children, and then those children slept together to have more children, and it became literally hillbilly redneck Hulks, and they created a gang. I'm not making this up. This is legitimate. I swear to God. And they killed Logan's family.
Okay.
Logan went on a murderous rampage, killed them all, blah, blah, blah. He then got brought back into the Secret War again, right? Was forced to fight, even though he really didn't want to, right? I mean, he did and he didn't. Let's be honest. Like he was angry enough to want to kill, but like he did his deed, killed what he needed to kill, and was done. Had to be forced to kill again. Went to 616, which is technically his past, because he's from an alternate future. It's a weird situation.
Yep.
Because of the cosmic destruction during the Secret Wars, his timeline completely imploded from an incursion. Now you know what an incursion is. He then got brought to another timeline. So basically, time travel to a very similar universe to his. The difference was in that universe where the X-Men died, the X-Men actually killed Wolverine.
Oh.
So he replaced Wolverine. Like
Okay.
he was brought to that time. It's a weird thing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. That one kind of seems like it got a little.
Think of it like Black Widow from What If.
That's what I was about to say. Like
Yeah.
this timeline seemed to get dropped, was paid homage to in other stories of the Marvel universe.
Yeah.
Um,
And I thought that was interesting just because it was time travel in a very obscure way, but it was from cosmic entities that actually changed the course of everything. So even though Logan himself had no ability to time travel, he was basically forced to be time traveled. And I thought that was interesting.
literally like what if with the Watcher.
Absolutely, actually. So that was kind of more. I like that one because I wanted to show three different types of time travel. So technology, mutant ability slash superhuman ability, let's say, right? And then I wanted to show cosmic beings. Now, granted, there are other ways of time travel, mystic, time stone. There's other ways of time travel, but we only had so much time, and I didn't want to go through all of them. But I wanted to talk about ones that were known and unknown at the same time. So that was Old Man Logan time traveling to 616 and fighting in the Secret War. Your turn, my friend.
All right, my last character is a very classic one and one that is very well known. The Flash.
Oh, okay.
You know,
Uh,
speedster.
I was going to say that one I do know. I did
No,
know Booster Gold. I did know Booster Gold.
um, but I
Because I
mean,
think
this
that,
one's obviously well known, the most famous for it.
yeah.
Speedster has the ability to change the past, goes back in time, can travel so fast. Technically, Superman has this ability as well,
But he
but
doesn't use it. Well, he
he's
doesn't use it as often as the
yeah,
Flash does.
he does not
I'll
use
see
it
that.
as well. He's not as well known for it.
That's fair.
Um, I mean, he's done it in the Christopher Reeves movies. So,
True.
but Flash travels so fast that he has the ability to travel back in time and or into the future and change events. And that is he is the cause of the original reboot of New 52 because he was suffering so much he missed his mother. He traveled back in time and saved her life, and that caused the Flashpoint paradox as we know it. Everything, Batman, Bruce Wayne died, Thomas Wayne lived, became a vigilante
Well, he
murderer.
became technically. Well, he technically became Batman, and
He
his wife
became
became the
Batman, but
Joker,
Batman wasn't the Batman because he was just going around killing villains because that pissed him off.
and his wife
Um,
was the Joker.
and his wife became the Joker. Aquaman and Wonder Woman were lovers and then tried to destroy the world.
I was gonna
Um,
say, didn't Wonder Woman behead Aquaman's wife?
yes,
Okay, I'm trying to remember
Aquaman,
because there was a lot. There was
Mira.
a lot.
There was a lot. Mira got jealous because Aquaman was cheating on her with Wonder Woman. So Mira got jealous, or rightfully
Attacked,
so, and
attacked.
attacked Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman defended herself, killed her. Aquaman found out. declared war on Themyscira.
which he
Uh,
had to,
you
because
know,
technically she killed the queen.
yep. I mean, literally all sorts of messed up. But when eventually Flash realized that the world was ending, went back in time again, had to let his mother die to fix events, but because the past had been changed, he couldn't resolve because he changed one thing. He no longer could create the same future that or the same present that he had, so it was slightly different,
Which is where New 52 came from.
which is where the New 52 came from. And then we had another reboot with the DC Rebirth and whatever we're
Yes,
doing now. Um,
that'd
like I
be
said, I mean, like Superman has the ability to do this as well, but his is slightly different. I mean, in the movies, the live action movies in the '70s, he just traveled back in time so fast that he literally caused the planet to change reverse direction and like just go back a couple minutes. Whereas the Flash could literally travel so fast that he like breaks the barrier and literally is in the time stream. So like it is slightly different. I mean, people say it is believed that Superman can match the Flash in speed. So if the Flash could go back in time, then so could Superman, but he doesn't do that.
I was also going to say too, isn't the thought process that it's more the speed force than his speed?
Well, the Flash gets his power from the Speed Force.
No, but you know what I'm saying. Like, is it his speed itself that he breaks time, or is it the speed force that I don't? You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm wondering if it's this. I know it's stupid because he's not fast without the speed force. So the speed force, no matter what, is what causes him to go back in time. Technically, I do understand that piece, only because of semantics of like if he's fast enough to break the time barrier, it's because of the speed force. I'm asking, is it his speed alone, or is it his connection to the speed force alone?
I mean, I would say it's a combination of both, not
Okay,
just
no, no, no.
yeah.
I was just curious because I wonder if that's one of the reasons why Superman doesn't use it.
I honestly couldn't really say.
That's fine.
Um,
I just was
I,
curious.
I think it's more of the Flash's speed in general because
That's fair.
I mean other speedsters have the ability to travel in time.
In time.
So
But they're also
it's
connected technically to the Speed Force.
the Speed Force is weird because it's like the Speed Force is known as strictly meant for Barry Allen, but
But
other
it's not.
speedsters can use it.
I was going to say a lot of speedsters have used it.
Yes, but then you look at the Reverse Flash, who
Has his own
has
Speed Force. It's the
has his
negative
own
force.
Speed Force. Yeah, has the negative Speed Force. So
Yeah, it's called the negative Speed Force, or is it just called like it's called the negative Speed Force, right?
yeah, I believe so. Yeah,
Okay.
it might be like slightly different. Like it might not be the negative Speed Force. It might be like
Uh,
the negative
like something stupid like
negative
reverse
zone
Speed
or negative
Force.
force, something like that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
um, I mean, yeah, like they so like the speedsters can't get to their top speed without the speed force.
Yes.
So like they need the speed force to be able to do this. So like it's one that they can't like if one didn't have it, then they can't just do it in general. So like it I understand what you mean, and I don't know how to answer it without
No, that's fine. If you don't
explaining
have
saying.
and I don't mean it in the sense of like I think I'm asking a question that you can't answer because they both coincide. Like it's too they're so connected that it's semantics. Like it doesn't matter. But that's fine. So that's interesting. So I'm glad you had all those. All right. So you ready to talk about? Now the reason for anybody who wanted to know why we're doing time travelers is just because I wanted us to talk about this while we had the time to get ourselves ready for Deadpool and Wolverine, because the idea is time travel is part of the problem.
Yeah,
So that's why we did this. So let's, Mike. I don't know if you're ready. Are you ready to talk about My Adventures with Superman, Episode 3?
yeah. Let's get into this fun childish Superman show.
So there was one new hero that was introduced.
Yep. Do
Is
you
it Doctor?
recognize him?
Is it Doctor Steel or is it just Steel?
Doctor Iron.
Doctor. Yeah, but what is his like superhero name? Is it Doctor? Isn't
No,
it
it's
like
just Steel.
Stone?
It's Steel.
That's what I thought. It's just Steel. Sorry. Um, no, I knew who it was. In fact, you know what's funny? Before we see him like do certain things, I was like, oh, I wonder if that's because I don't think they said his name right away. If they did, I didn't hear it, and I was like,
They didn't, they were just saying Doctor, I forget his first name, but they were calling him Doctor Iron.
yeah. So I was just like, oh, okay, and I'm like, I wonder if that's Steel. Like, you know what I mean? I'm like, I wonder if that's Steel. Like, are we gonna see him be Steel? And we did. Spoiler alert.
And then
Um,
obviously the other scientist, Doctor Stone, Victor's father,
yes, yes, and that
or
was the other.
Cyborg's father.
That was the guy who almost lost his daughter, right? Or was threatened to lose his daughter.
Yeah.
Okay. I figured that was correct. I just wasn't 100% sure. But anyway, but we saw a new hero, technically.
Mm-hmm.
Because the idea was he actually donned on the suit and became Steel.
Yep.
So in this, there's many things that are happening. Okay. One, there's killer robots being thought to be in Metropolis, right? It's
Mm-hmm.
the rumor. Nothing's really making sense on it. Nobody's seen anything. It's kind of not making sense, right? We have Vicky Lang. No,
Vicky Vale.
Vicky Vale. I almost said Lane. I don't know why. Vicky Vale had a huge part in this episode.
Mm-hmm.
I was actually kind of impressed because the main story with her was trying to get the scoop before
The
Lois
Daily
Lane.
Planet. Yep. I think it's interesting in this that the Gotham Gazette is just so much more is a bigger uh, news station than the Daily Planet.
Well, it makes sense only because I believe, and I could be wrong, I think Batman might already exist. And so, because of that, they were having a lot more villainous stuff happening over there, or
Mm-hmm.
more criminal stuff, I should say. I don't want to say villainous because I think it's more on the criminal end. And so, because of that, she's got scoops on everything. You know what I'm saying? Like she gets all the big stuff. Where in Metropolis at this time, it's only just starting to
Yeah.
have problems. So think of it like Providence and Boston, right? They each are big cities, as weird as it sounds.
Yeah.
But Boston is like you
I
walk.
know. I mean, I understand what you're saying. It's interesting because whenever like I said, they're
It's
doing new
normally the
things
opposite.
in
You
this.
normally know Daily Planet more than you know Gotham Gazette.
Yes. So it's just interesting. I mean, even just in general, like as we said in season one when we talked about this, like Lois Lane is starting out, whereas whenever we see Lois Lane, she's already a big time reporter.
Yes.
So in this case, she's trying to hit big and get the scoop over Vicky Vale, who is the big time reporter. So
Yeah, and I think it was kind of cool that Lois actually beat Vicky.
yep, and she got the respect and tried. And Vicky tried to basically buy her.
Well, realistically, she offered her a job,
Yeah,
and that's really what it comes down to.
she tried to steal her from the Daily Planet.
And basically, she stated like, "You're not going to make it in Metropolis. You got to go to Gotham, where it's more."
Which is so
Which
weird.
again, which does make sense to a
In this
certain,
universe it makes sense.
just because of the semantics and everything else. So we have that going on, and that was actually a big fight between the two of them. Like they kept outdoing each other for the majority of the episode. Like they were both right on each other's tail.
Hmm. I liked at the very beginning when they like the typical cartoon joking of how like Vicky lost Lois in the crap in the
In the
robot
facility.
factory
Yeah, in the
in the
facility.
facility,
And
and
then
then
all
all
of a
of a sudden
sudden,
you just see her on the garbage truck escaping. It's like, where did you go?
well, it makes sense. So I think it was just really awesome to see that. And that was like the lowest laying piece of it, right? So the big piece with Superman had to do with the fact of he has to deal with Lois's father, who is a slob and is useless. No offense. He might be a general, and I'm not saying he can't do a lot, but he's not doing a lot where he is right now.
In his personal life, he is a mess.
Yes, 100%. So anyway, he then yells at Clark and basically tells him that he's late to everything, he's useless, he can't do anything, blah blah blah.
He's a
Right?
flake.
Yeah, he's a flake. And I find it interesting because Clark agrees with him
Hmm.
because
At the end of
Clark
the episode, he said he was right.
because the idea is he can't be in two places at once. He can't be Clark and Superman all the time. He can only be one or the other. And I don't mean forever. I just mean at certain points and he can't. He's got to find a balance, right?
Yep.
We also get to see a new power from Superman that was introduced: energy manipulation.
Yeah. Very interesting.
I'm calling it that. I don't think it's necessarily that, but
He
that's the
has the
idea.
ability. He has the ability to create a force field.
But that force field absorbs the energy and can shoot it out or contain energy. Because we
Yeah.
saw that with his fight with Livewire, he was able to like absorb it and then shoot it back at her.
Yeah. And then obviously, when the facility was ready to self destruct, he was able
He
to
was holding
contain the
the
explosion
reactor.
for a time.
So talking about that, part of the issue was um, Cyborg's father and Steel were the head scientists of this thing, where they found out that the robots worked on this reactor that was clean energy, which it was clean energy. That was not a lie. The problem was because they were too, for whatever reason, their reactors were interacting with each other and they combined together and caused an explosion. They became unstable and exploded. So the scientists didn't want to go any further with this. And it turns out that the CEO was like, "No, we're going to keep doing this." He goes, "I want to beat Amazo to be at the top, um, and we
Ivo.
should be. Huh?
Dr. Ivo.
Doctor Ivo, sorry, Doctor Ivo, because he went away, and now he wants to fill that void in the tech. So he forces it upon them to continue on. Well, they refuse. They then get hunted down because they have video proof of what happened. And so at one point, my apologies. Dr. Stone was attacked first. His building was caught on fire. He was then threatened. His daughter was threatened by Livewire. He then deleted his part of the stuff. Livewire went to attack the other one, which turns into Steel. Superman fights her. She then is able to distract Superman enough to destroy all the evidence. And then Superman and the Doctor try to stop the CEO from using the reactor, because what happens is during the live wire fight, if you want to call it that, we see the reactor get turned on, and that's when Superman and the scientist go over to the plant to stop it. And Superman gets attacked by a bunch of robots, and that's when the Doctor goes inside and puts on his mecha suit and becomes Steel. And then we have the fight where luckily the robots stopped working because their reactors shot into the main reactor. Um, and that's when Steel was able to smash the reactor to shut it down.
Well,
Now,
the
when I
robots didn't. The robots never stopped until he
they,
destroyed the cores.
no,
Like
no,
they
no, some of their cores went into the main reactor, which made it unstable, which is why Superman had to stop
oh,
fighting to go in. There were still other robots, I should say. I shouldn't say all of them. There were still some robots that were trying to stop Steel. The one thing I had a problem with out of the whole thing was Steel being able to use his hammer without his mecha suit.
oh yeah.
That was my only complaint, and it's a very minor complaint because at the very least he couldn't do as much damage without the suit. So I was at least okay with that.
Yeah, it took him a lot more hits. My only thing was that like the first every other gem or whatever core was getting shot and shattered in one hit, and then that last one just for drama, he had to struggle, and then he had to get out of the suit and use the hammer and whatever. So, I mean, the hammer thing I'm like not as fussy about because it's like probably the suit gave extra strength to the
Correct.
swing.
Which is why I agree with you, but
Yeah,
I said that's the only thing I had a problem with, and that really
so
wasn't that bad. And then obviously the core dissipated, shot Clark or Superman away, but everyone survived. Clark worked on a article that basically stated on like the real hero, like Superman can't do it all alone. He had help
He
from.
needs, everyone needs to
This is a
work
city.
together to
This
save the
is a
city.
city that we are united, and it shouldn't be down on one person,
Yep.
which is accurate.
Yep.
And then during all the hype of Steel being the hero, he gets canned.
Yep. LexCorp bought
No,
the.
no, no, no. I don't. I don't think it's LexCorp. I think it was Task Force X bought it.
Well, yeah, but it's under the disguise of LexCorp.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, Lex Luthor came in. He said, this is all property of LexCorp,
Oh, I thought he said it's all property of Lex Luthor. My bad. So that
not
makes more
LexCorp.
sense. No, 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 no. That's fine. It doesn't ruin anything at all. I That makes it even funnier. So he gets canned. His suit gets condemned or
It is
removed.
property of LexCorp now.
Correct. And he doesn't want to have to arrest a hero.
Yep,
And so then the end of the episode is Waller and Lex looking at all the mecha suits. Well, no, they're not mecha suits. They were the robots.
the robot. Yeah,
So that's how that episode ends. We also know that Clark really wants to find his cousin. And after this episode, it sounds like he's going to be doing it next episode. It sounds. That doesn't mean it's what's going to happen.
this episode is very much going to be putting this really. I know we talked about it last episode
This is going to put a strain in their
how there's
relationship.
going to be a strain between Lois and Clark, but now it's going to be even more so because Clark keeps trying to tell her, and life
About
keeps
his
getting in the
cousin.
way that they can't communicate. And now Lois is also going to be going to be talking about possibly moving to Gotham to
Correct.
for the Gotham Gazette. Um, so this is going to be very big strain. Obviously, the bigger strain is going to be the fact that Superman is betraying Lois's trust and going to find another Kryptonian. Um,
Which Lois has not been the greatest person either. I'm not
no,
saying Clark's in the right, but Lois has very been much how do I want to phrase this? Hypocritical.
well, yeah. I mean,
Like
I'm not going to say like Superman is in the wrong. Like
he's not in the right, but he's also not in the wrong, and she's not really in the wrong 100%, but she's doing exactly what she's telling him not to do at the same time.
she has a legitimate fear of what could potentially come with another Kryptonian. That is not the case. Uh, the
It's her way of dealing with it is the problem.
Yeah, the issue now obviously with Superman, he doesn't want to be alone. He wants someone that understands him, and that's totally understandable. He isn't going after the thing until he talks to Lois, which is good. I think it's going to get to the point where he's no longer going to be willing to wait, and he's going to start looking, and that's where the issue is going to come.
Yeah, no, I
Um,
agree with you. I think that's going to be the main thing. I think we're going to have a lot of these next few episodes. I think are going to be a major strain in their relationship because he's going to be looking for her cousin, and she's going to threaten to go to Gotham um, if he does this or something along those lines. I
I
have a
mean,
feeling.
I don't think it's going to be like she's going to threaten him because he's
Well,
doing this.
it's going to feel like a threat because if he's, you know what I'm saying, like if they're not dating anymore, you know what I mean. There's no reason for her to stay in Metropolis.
Her life's in Metropolis.
Well, is it? She only has her dad, and her dad can move. I know it sounds weird to say, but it's like her dad ain't doing anything. He's just
I
got a
don't.
little.
I mean, obviously, for plot purposes, it could be this way, but I don't think that she's going to be staying in Metropolis just for the sole purpose of Superman. Her friends and her whatever, her life is in Metropolis. This is
Yeah,
the city
I
that
do
she
get what
grew
you're
up
saying.
in.
I think it's more of she's gonna obviously want to stay with Daily Planet. I think there's gonna be some talks about it. She's gonna visit Gotham for sure, but
Yeah,
I think in the end we're going to have her staying at Daily Planet. But no, I get what you're saying though. It's gonna be a strain. It's gonna be weird. It's gonna be weird between them. That's for sure.
yeah. Oh,
And
yeah,
then we
definitely.
also the one thing we didn't mention because it wasn't majorly important, but it is a great thought process on this is Jimmy being a boss.
Oh yeah.
He starts off.
I really enjoyed that little just the whole story of that, because it really
Well, it makes the most amount of sense because he thought he knew what it was to be a boss, and then at the end he realized, oh no,
it's
like
going to be a lot. It's going to be a lot of character growth for him, and it's going to, even in like improving. It's going to be improving his character and his other characters as well. He's giving them, it's giving them more roles, and I mean, just in general, like now he's going to be,
he's
like
going
you
to be
said,
more
just
of a he's going to be more of a I hate saying it this way, but more of a leader instead
yeah,
of just telling people, like instead of a dictator, he's going to be more of a leader. And
yep.
I think that's what's going to be more of the case in this piece, which is not to say that he ever really was a dictator, but he was acting like it because he thought that's what he needed to be.
Well, at the same
To a
time,
certain
like
degree.
now it's going to be teaching him more of how to better run Flamebird. So
Yes.
the
Because it's
whole
not just
money
him.
thing,
I was going
the
to say
money thing
too, I
is going
think
to be going away.
well, I also think too, I think the big thing here is the fact of like realizing like Flamebird was his, and without him, it would never have existed. But now it's gotten so big, he can't do it alone. And I think
Hmm.
he's now realizing that more because it was kind of like forced on him originally. But
Yeah.
now
Oh
it's
yeah.
more of like, I think he's embracing it more now, at the very least at the end of this episode. I can't say how,
He saw how much she helped him, because the kid, Flip, that this whole episode wouldn't have been a success without Flip helping.
absolutely.
So
And
the
her
fact that
idea that he thought was stupid.
yep, he saw her the benefit of getting help, and that led to Superman getting help. That led to Clark writing the "everyone needs help once in a while," and it really tied the entire episode together.
No, 100%. I agree with you. And I mean, that was pretty much the episode. I mean, like I said, we got introduced to Steel. We have the potential of Cyborg at some point
Hmm.
because just because he has a daughter doesn't mean he doesn't have an adult son or a son that's a football player right now.
I mean, at the
Uh,
same time, it could also be a female cyborg in this universe.
Also true. I mean, we don't know. We don't know any, or it could be his dad. The dad turns into Cyborg in this one.
Also
There's
true.
many different things that could happen. My
We're
point on
getting
DC is
taste of other characters in this universe.
we're 100%. We are at least being introduced to the idea of the potential of Cyborg.
Hmm.
However that looks, but it's the potential of Cyborg.
Yep. And I mean, yeah, it was a good episode. It was a really good episode.
It was yes. I was a little. I think in the beginning I was kind of like really, and then it made sense at the end. It was kind of like I felt like you're absolutely right. Like it, not that it none of it was bad whatsoever, but it tied itself together at the end where it made everything made sense. Like not that it
Yeah.
didn't make sense, but it was like why are they doing this? Why are they doing that? Like they don't seem to be related, and then it all came together, and it was like oh no, it did make sense.
Hmm. Yeah. Definitely. Um, this
But
show does a good job of tying things together. Like,
yeah, I think we talked about this last season too, in the sense of like this show does such a great job of doing something that's it's weird to say because DC's done so much that this is such a new take that it's different than like it's got some similarities to other stuff. Like it's got the Smallville vibe, it's got the you know what I mean, like the
mhm.
but it's different at the same time and it's refreshing. And I know we've
Yeah,
talked about this a lot, but it's a nice fresh take on the DC universe and we don't get that a lot.
yeah. I
Or
mean,
we don't
most of
get
the
it good. We don't get it done well, I should say.
from recent history, no.
Yeah.
But yeah, no.
You get my
I
point.
mean,
I'm
the
not saying it's like,
animated stuff is always on point in DC. That like we can't take that away.
no, I agree with you, but how many times can you have the Superman story without being repetitive?
Yep.
And they've done such a great job of making it paying homage to the character, but making it different enough to be its own thing.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
And I think that's what's incredible.
100%.
But yeah, so I'm looking forward to next week's episode and seeing where it goes from there. Is there anything else you'd like to add before we do the character spotlight?
No, no.
No,
This is
I think I was going to say this. I do enjoy this series. I enjoy it more than I thought I would have in the beginning of season one. I will say.
yeah. I mean,
I
I've said
wasn't
this.
expecting much, and we talked about this. The
Yep.
first half was kind of like, like it wasn't bad. It just was okay, and then it got really
This
good, and then it's been
literally
good.
the first 5 episodes of this show was, oh, this is a great little kids Superman TV show, and then all of a sudden it just picked up and it hasn't turned back since.
No,
Like,
it's done excellent. But yeah, all right. Let's get right into my character spotlight.
Okay. I don't like how excited you are.
So, my character spotlight is on Ashley Barton of Earth 807128. Now,
It's a big number.
it is a big number. And we've already talked about this universe already today. But Ashley Barton, does that sound familiar to you? Part of it should.
Barton, Hawkeye.
Okay. Well, guess what? Ashley Barton is the daughter of Peter Parker's youngest daughter, Tanya, and Hawkeye. Yeah.
What? What?
Oh yeah, yeah. No, no. You heard that correctly. Hawkeye.
Okay.
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 Got it on with Peter Parker's daughter, youngest daughter, granted. So you have that thought process in your head. Tanya.
Okay. Can we clarify about how old Hawkeye is in this universe? Like, is it weird, or is it like Hawkeye is young, or Peter Parker is just really old? Like, can
All right. I will say that I think Peter Parker and Barton, I believe, are around the same age.
okay, so it's weird.
It's weird, but it. Hear me out on this. It's not as weird as you think it is because it's a apocalyptic world.
Okay, never mind.
I'm not trying to justify what's going on here, but like the world literally, this is Old Man Logan's universe. Okay, so I,
Okay,
I
okay,
so,
that's all I needed to hear. That's all I needed to hear. Carry on.
okay, so like we got hillbilly, like we got some ancestral Hulk creatures made. Like this is not the weirdest. This is the least weird in this universe. Okay,
Yep.
now Ashley,
It's just the initial shock of it. Like in retrospect, like it's not as weird as it's thought. It's just the initial shock of like I like
no, you're absolutely. Here's the thing: from our universe, it would be weird as all heck. In their universe, it actually makes sense just because of the way the world is, and that the world is just kind of falling apart. So it's like it's kind. Not that I still don't think it's weird. It is, but like based on other stuff that's going on there, not the weirdest thing. And
like
that's sad to say.
it's like it's one of those things where so like sorry to change this on you, but it's like in the MCU, Hawkeye is like in his 40s, where Spider Man is in his 20s. So it's
No, I
you know,
get you.
so like I'm like Spider Man is like having a kid who is now 20 years old. Hawkeye is like 60 years old, so it's weird. But in retrospect, if Spider Man and Hawkeye are about the same age,
I
say
think
like
it, I,
30s or
if
40s,
I know correctly, I think in this universe they're. I don't know if they're the exact same age. Hawkeye might be
but they're
slightly
close.
older, but I think they're close in age. I would say no more than 10 years difference, and I'm being
So like like it's going to be like a
50,
20-year
20,
difference in age gap, which it's actually
30 at
not
the
as
most. 30 at the most.
it's not like what I was originally thinking, where
It's
Hawkeye
not
is
an
like in his
85-year-old
60s.
man with a 20-year-old. Yeah,
Yeah,
it's
yeah, yeah.
okay. So anyway,
Back to your spotlight.
so Ashley Barton. So granted, Tanya does not have any Spider-Man abilities. I want to make that clear. So her mother, aka Peter Parker's daughter, has no Spider-Man abilities whatsoever. However, for whatever the reason, his granddaughter, Ashley Barton, does. Don't ask me why. But guess what alias she goes by?
Spiderhawk.
No, Spider Bitch. And so I will say this: she originally goes by Spider Bitch in this universe, and eventually changes it to a more family-friendly name as Spider Woman. That being said, I personally like. She's also been called Spider Girl as well, but the one that she currently has been using has been Spider Woman. However, when she first got introduced, she was Spider Bitch, and you'll understand why she earned that title in a minute.
Is she a bitch?
Um, you'll understand in a minute. Now,
Okay.
in this universe, as I talked about, the villains took over certain areas of Earth. Kingpin, however, was running what was called Hammer Falls. Okay? And she didn't like the way Kingpin was running it. So she formed a team of superheroes with her friends and attempted to take over his territory, only to be captured and set to be executed. Okay? So,
Hmm.
not the brightest bulb. Her father, Hawkeye, broke her out of her cell only to be shocked when Ashley killed Kingpin to take over his territory for her own and become the new Kingpin, using her newfound power in attempt to kill him as well as aiming to conquer the world of the Wastelands herself. Now, would you like to know how she killed Kingpin?
How did she kill Kingpin?
With a shotgun, and not in the way you think.
Okay, I want to hear.
So you would think with a shotgun she shot him. No.
Did
She
she
used
beat him to death with it?
no, she swung it once and decapitated him with a shotgun. So that's how strong she is.
Wow, because
Mhm.
Kingpin is durable. Wow.
Oh no, I want to make this clear. Like this isn't like yes, like this is a big feat. Okay,
Yeah.
like killing Kingpin what isn't all that surprising because Spider-Man can kill Kingpin, so she should be able to. You know what I'm saying? Like in that sense, she was able to swing the shotgun so strongly, I guess, or with so much force, right off.
Have to talk about the durability of that shotgun as well to not shatter on impact.
I think it was something made by Kingpin's like group, so I would imagine it was probably like reinforced and stuff like that. Um, but anyway, I don't know the full details of the shotgun. I'm not gonna lie to you. So anyway, the person she was trying to kill was actually her father. So because she wanted to take over the wasteland herself, there was somebody who was getting in her way, and it happened to be Hawkeye.
Mm.
Well, Logan rescued Hawkeye with his Spider Mobile, and Ashley, aka Spider Bitch, sent her men after them to try to kill them. Well, unsuccessful. And you'll understand what that happens because you're probably wondering, well, Scott, that's not a lot of information. Well, if you remember what we talked about, Mike, there was an issue with her universe and the place imploded and turned into a different universe. So that was actually the end of her universe in her way. But she didn't die because guess what? She was later referred to as Spider Woman and at certain points was even called just Ashley Barton, and she was recruited by the Superior Spider-Man from Earth 616. Now, do you know who the Superior Spider-Man is?
I'm blanking. I mean, I do, but I'm blanking right now.
So it was Peter Parker's body with the mind of Otto Octavius.
Oh, okay. All right. I was mixing it up with someone else then. Okay.
Yeah. So Otto Octavius was able to switch minds with Peter Parker and became the Superior Spider-Man. So anyway, he recruited Ashley to kill Karn, an individual who was hunting spider-themed people across the multiverse. Now, during this time, this was called what was called the Totem War, which was where spider-powered heroes were being targeted
Hmm. Okay.
and they were being killed because not everyone was worthy of the spider power. And that's where this
Cool.
creature came in to kill the ones that weren't worthy of it. So anyway, she was chosen to join the Superior Spider Army due to her basically due to the fact that she likes to kill people. They quickly learned that Karn was a member of the family of hunters known as the Inheritors. During the first Totem War, Spider Girl, which was her title at the time, joined an alternate Superior Spider Army. The Superior Army was recruited by SHIELD of Earth TRN 461. Oh,
Number got so high they had to start using letters. Wow.
they ran out of numbers. They started using letters. And they called themselves the Spider-Men. Um, and they were a group of Spider-Men or Spider-Man variants, let's say, assembled to combat the multiversal Sinister Six. Yeah, imagine that. While on this Earth, which was TRN 461, she also joined Spider Force, which was a station off-world, where she was stationed off-world at a symbiote prison as a security guard, which she hated because she wasn't allowed to beat the prisoners as often as she would like, and that's not an exaggeration.
I totally understand her name now.
Oh, do you? Okay. When the Inheritors returned, Ashley re-enlisted in the Superior Spider Army, where she joins Scarlet Spider's squad to hunt down Verna, a member of the Inheritors. During this mission, she became close with Spider Kid, a delinquent variant of her grandfather, who she jokingly called Gramps, because technically it was her grandfather. She ultimately survived the conflicts and returned to her home dimension with the other surviving spiders. Now, her universe had since been destroyed and scavenged to become Earth 21923. Okay? So it was originally 807128. It, because of an incursion and God Emperor Doom turning it into Earth 21923, with Ashley's home reality henceforth being known by that number.
I'm loving this because I know you're struggling with trying to put these numbers in their order. So it's
Oh, 100%. You have no idea. So the remains of Earth 807128 was scavenged, like I said, was scavenged by God Emperor Doom to become Earth 21923 after the former was destroyed by an incursion, because it was literally used to create the battle world domain of the wasteland, because like I told you, the world was so destroyed that they used it as a battle area for the battle world of the Secret Wars, which was ultimately restored to the multiverse by Reed Richards as well as kind of God Emperor Doom, with Ashley returning to the reality following Spider Getten after leaving her original non-altered reality during the Spider-Verse. What I mean by that is basically Spider Getten happened, which was basically Secret Wars of the
spider
Spider-Verse.
elimination. Yeah.
Yes. Um, and then she returned back to a completely different universe where she had her own little story that I'm not going to get into because that is technically a different Ashley Barrett. Barton, sorry, Ashley Barton. And we'll go into that later. Probably in another Marvel universe. I mean, a Marvel character spotlight. But for now, that is the history or comic book history of Ashley Barton, aka Spider Bitch, aka Spider Girl, aka now Spider Woman.
That's a
Unlike
good
her,
one.
yeah, I do like it. I thought it was hilarious because I liked the idea of her, and then I found out her literal name was Spider Bitch, and I thought she's she's the character spotlight. So,
Yep.
unlike her mother, Ashley seemed to have inherited some of her grandfather's ability. So she had superhuman agility to superhuman levels, and she had superhuman strength, and she had the ability to wall crawl. One thing I find funny though is she had equipment, web shooters, never used them.
Hmm.
I find that funny. But I think that had to do with the fact in her universe, there was no point in using them because there wasn't like there was a lot of use for it. She used her strength more than anything else in her fighting skills. You know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
in her universe, her original universe, there was no reason to use them. So when
Yeah.
she went to the other universes, she had them, but she didn't use them because she never needed to before.
Yeah. She's not used to it, so it's just more of a hassle than a need.
Yeah. And like I said, one of the reasons why she was no longer called Spider Bitch was literally due to the fact that because they were adding her into like the Spider Verse, and a lot of kids were going to be reading her. They thought it'd be better to call her either Spider Girl or Spider Woman,
Makes sense.
which does make sense. But I still will call her Spider Bitch. So a power grid in Marvel is always out of 7. So her intelligence is a 2 because it is normal. So she did not inherit her grandfather's intelligence. Her strength is a 4 because it is superhuman. She can lift around 25 tons. Excuse me. Her speed is a 3 because it's considered superhuman. Her durability is a 3 because she has enhanced durability. Her energy projection is a 1 because she has none. And her fighting skills are a 3 because she has some training, which I find very interesting because of all the stuff that she's done. That she hasn't actually really been trained all that much.
Mm.
But it does make sense based on her universe. And um, I just find it funny that there's a lot of times we see her in like the comic books, apparently like holding the shotgun, like a shotgun, um,
Yeah.
but never like this. She's holding it like a club, um, and it pays homage to her killing Kingpin. But that, my friends, is Ashley Barton of Earth 807128, aka Spider Bitch, in the old Logan universe.
Nice.
Yeah, I'm definitely going to be. There's going to, not yet, but there's going to be a time where I do a character spotlight on the Hulk gang because I want you to listen to that horror story.
Oh God, can't
Because
wait.
if I had to listen to it, you have to listen to it. There's images I can't get out of my head. Anyway,
listen, listen. I didn't tell you to do it. You did it out of your own free will.
actually, I did it because we were talking about Old Man Logan at one point, and I happened to read it, and I don't regret it because it was a great storyline. However, gross. What I found out was there were other comics that were part of the old man Logan story, kind of like what's like Civil War and stuff. Like there was the main Civil War, and then there were like
Yeah,
stories
it
on
was
the side.
branches to help explain the
This was
universe
one of
more.
those stories on the side, which I would have never in a million years guessed.
Yeah, it makes sense. I'll be
No, but it
honest.
does. But it's just interesting to think about. But
Yeah.
yeah, overall, that's going to be it for today. So next week we're going to be talking about, like I said, the 2 episode premiere of the Acolytes, the 4th episode of My Adventures with Superman, and we're going to be doing a character spotlight with Mike next week. And if there's any trailers that pop up, which there is the potential of happening, not to say there's nothing planned, but there's always the chance.
Yep.
We will talk about those as well. But other than that, this is going to be. Oh, I forgot. If you've made it this far, please make sure to like and subscribe down below. Other than that, this is going to be Scott and Mike signing out of the Black Eel podcast. Thank you very much and have a great night.